whisper comforting words to it. "You're safe now. You're okay," he murmured, looking down at the tiny face, its fur a mix of brown, black, and white, with eyes that were both sad and full of hope. As he knelt down on the pavement, rain still coming down in torrents, the puppy looked up at him as if it was already beginning to trust him. Noah didn't know why, but something about this moment felt different. The connection was instant. Noah sat on the curb, holding the puppy in his arms, watching the storm rage around them. It seemed like everything in the world had stopped. People rushing by, cars speeding past, the world carrying on without a thought. But Noah, this small boy, had stopped time for this little creature. He couldn't just leave it there, not when it was so vulnerable. He had to take it home. And though he didn't know how, he knew he couldn't let the puppy go. He didn't want to, even if his parents would be angry. He made a promise to himself that he would care for this puppy, no matter what. When Noah finally got home, the first thing he did was dry the puppy off with an old towel he found in the laundry room. He felt the softness of its fur, and in that moment, he couldn't help but wonder about the life the puppy had before it had found him. Had it been abandoned? Had it been lost? Whatever the case, it didn't matter now. Noah was going to be its new home. That night, as he lay in his bed, the puppy curled up at his feet. Noah felt a sense of peace wash over him. The puppy, now dry and warm, had fallen asleep, its tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Noah smiled, knowing he had done the right thing. But as he drifted off to sleep, he couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead for the two of them. Little did Noah know, this was just the beginning of an incredible journey. The bond between him and the puppy would only grow stronger as they faced challenges together. From unexpected encounters with other animals, to learning how to care for and love each other in a world that was sometimes unpredictable. But there was something more, something he didn't yet realize. This puppy, this small, abandoned creature, would change his life in ways he couldn't imagine. As the days passed, Noah named the puppy Max. They were inseparable. Max followed him everywhere, on walks, to the park, and even to school, where Noah's friends had started noticing the little dog's playful nature. Max brought a sense of joy and comfort to Noah that he had never experienced before. He had a companion, someone who understood him in ways no one else did. But it wasn't always easy. As Max grew stronger, he became more curious, more energetic. He would run around the yard, chasing after sticks, barking at the birds, and even trying to play with the neighborhood cats. And though Noah loved every moment of it, there were still times when things didn't go as planned. Max once ran into the street after a squirrel, and Noah's heart stopped as he screamed, "No, Max, stop." But the puppy didn't listen, and just as a car came speeding toward him, Noah rushed into the street, throwing himself in front of Max, pushing the puppy out of harm's way. The car screeched to a halt, and Noah's heart raced, but Max had been saved. That moment, As Noah lay in the grass, panting and holding Max close, reminded him just how deep their bond had already become. Max wasn't just a pet, he was family. As time passed, Noah's bond with Max grew even stronger. They spent their days exploring new places, meeting new people, and facing challenges together. One day, Noah decided to take Max on a hike up the nearby mountain. The journey was long, the trail steep, but Noah's determination matched the puppy's boundless energy. As they reached the summit, the view took Noah's breath away. It was as if they were standing on top of the world, surrounded by the vast expanse of nature. And there, at that moment, as Max sat beside him, his tongue hanging out in a happy grin, Noah realized something profound. This puppy, this small, abandoned creature, had saved him in ways he hadn't even understood at first. When Noah had found Max that rainy afternoon, he hadn't just found a puppy. He had found a companion, a friend, a partner in every adventure that awaited them. Max had filled a space in Noah's heart he didn't know was empty. The bond they shared was unbreakable, and their adventures, their struggles, their love would continue for a lifetime. And no matter what challenges came their way, Noah knew that with Max by his side, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. As they made their way back down the mountain, the sun began to set, casting an orange glow across the sky. Max trotted ahead, his tail wagging in the breeze, and Noah followed behind, smiling. It wasn't just the adventure that mattered, it was the bond they had formed. Together, they were unstoppable, and though their journey was far from over, Noah knew one thing for sure. He had saved a puppy that day, but it was Max who had saved him, in ways that would forever melt his heart. As the weeks passed, Noah and Max's bond grew stronger. It wasn't just about the fun adventures anymore. It was about something deeper, something that only those who had truly experienced unconditional love could understand. The way Max would curl up next to him every night, his warm little body pressing against Noah's, providing comfort in a world that sometimes felt uncertain. Max wasn't just a pet, he was his friend, his confidant, and his protector. Noah found himself talking to Max about everything: his day at school, the latest book he was reading, the dreams he had for the future. Max, of course, never responded with words, but the way he would nuzzle Noah's hand or rest his head on his lap made Noah feel like he understood. It was the simple, unspoken connection that made their friendship so profound. But as with any journey, there were still challenges ahead. One day, as Noah was walking Max through the park, he noticed a group of older kids eyeing them from a distance. The kids weren't particularly kind, and Noah had seen them bully other kids before. He instinctively pulled Max closer, but the group began walking toward him, their laughter cutting through the air like a knife. "Hey, is that a stray dog?" one of them sneered. "Looks like it could barely survive on its own. Did you rescue it, or did it rescue you?" Noah's heart sank. He knew these kids didn't mean well, and he didn't want Max to be the target of their cruelty. Max, sensing the tension, stood at Noah's side, his body stiff and his ears perked up. The puppy had grown a lot, but he was still small, and Noah knew that, in a situation like this, it was best to avoid a confrontation. "Just leave us alone," Noah muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. But the older kid, who was a bit taller and seemed to take pleasure in tormenting others, took a step forward. "What are you going to do? Is your puppy going to bite me?" he taunted, getting dangerously close. Noah could feel the heat rise in his chest, his body tense with frustration. Max growled softly, and Noah knew the puppy was ready to defend him. But he also knew that fighting back wasn't the solution. He took a deep breath and stepped between Max and the bully, trying to stay calm. "Max is just a puppy, and he's not going to hurt anyone," Noah said, his voice steady. "But you should really be careful. You never know what's going to happen when you mess with the wrong person." The bully didn't seem to take him seriously, but the other kids, sensing Noah's unwavering confidence, backed off. They muttered under their breath, but eventually they walked away, leaving Noah and Max in peace. Max, sensing the tension had passed, wagged his tail and gave a soft bark, as if to reassure Noah that everything was okay. Noah sighed, his heart still racing from the encounter. "You're my hero, you know that," he said, kneeling down to ruffle Max's fur. The puppy licked his face, and Noah couldn't help but laugh. It was moments like these that reminded him why he loved Max so much. In a world that could be cold and harsh, Max was always there, bringing warmth and light to his life. But as the days continued to pass, Noah began to notice something strange about Max. The puppy, who had always been so playful and energetic, started to seem a little off. He didn't chase after sticks as eagerly, and his tail wagged less frequently. At first, Noah thought it might just be the weather, or perhaps Max was getting tired from all their adventures. But as the weeks went by, Noah grew more concerned. He noticed Max would occasionally limp when they went for walks, his small body moving with an uncharacteristic slowness. And then one night, as Noah tried to comfort Max after another restless evening, he realized something that made his stomach drop. Max wasn't just tired. He was in pain. Max let out a soft whimper as Noah gently petted him, and Noah immediately knew that something was wrong. The next morning, Noah took Max to the vet, his heart heavy with worry. The waiting room was filled with the sounds of other pets and their owners, but Noah's attention was entirely on Max, who sat quietly by his side. When the vet finally called them in, Noah could feel his hands shaking. He placed Max gently on the examination table, and the vet immediately began checking the puppy over. The vet's expression remained neutral, but Noah could sense the concern in her eyes. After a few minutes of checking Max's joints, she paused and looked at Noah. "Max is a little older than you might think," the vet said, her voice gentle but serious. It seems like he's been through a lot, likely before you found him. His joints are underdeveloped, and there's some damage to his right leg. It could be from an injury, or just a result of poor care when he was younger. Noah's heart sank as the vet explained. He had known that Max hadn't had the easiest start in life, but hearing the full extent of his injuries made Noah feel helpless. "Is there anything we can do?" Noah asked, his voice small. The vet smiled reassuringly, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "We'll start with some pain relief and a change in his diet to help support his joints. He's still young, and with the right care, he could improve. But it's going to take time, and you'll need to be patient with him." Noah nodded, tears welling in his eyes as he stroked Max's head. "I'll do whatever it takes," he whispered. The vet gave him a soft smile, understanding the depth of Noah's love for the puppy. "I know you will," she said, handing him a prescription for the medication. "Just keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't overexert himself while he heals." As Noah left the vet's office with Max in his arms, he couldn't help but feel a weight in his chest. He had saved Max from the street, but now it was his turn to be Max's protector. He would never let the puppy suffer again. Over the next few weeks, Noah did everything he could to help Max recover. He followed the vet's advice, giving Max his medication and making sure he didn't overdo it. Max's condition slowly improved, though there were still days when he seemed tired and sore. But no matter how difficult things got, Noah never wavered. He continued to shower Max with love, taking extra care when they went on walks, and making sure to give Max plenty of rest. And as the months passed, Max's playful nature began to return. He started chasing after sticks again, wagging his tail furiously as he ran circles around Noah. It was clear that Max was healing, but it was also clear that he had changed Noah's life in ways that words could never fully express. One evening, as Noah sat on the porch, watching the sunset with Max by his side, he realized that he had learned something incredibly important. Saving Max had been the best decision he had ever made, but it wasn't just about rescuing the puppy. It was about the way Max had transformed his life. Max had taught him the true meaning of love, patience, and resilience, and as the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Noah couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the little puppy who had walked into his life and become so much more than he had ever imagined. Together, they were unstoppable. Through every trial, every setback, and every moment of joy, Noah and Max would face the world together, no matter what challenges lay ahead. And Noah knew, without a doubt, that no matter what the future held, their bond would never break. As the months passed, Noah and Max became inseparable in a way that was almost magical. They had built a life together, a life filled with love, joy, and the kind of moments that only deepened their bond. Max, the scrappy little puppy who had once been abandoned on the busy street, had transformed into a vibrant and playful dog, his coat thick and shiny, his energy boundless. Yet, despite the challenges Max had faced in his early life, there was something about him that radiated resilience. He had come through the toughest of times with an unwavering trust in Noah, his heart open and full of love. Noah had never imagined that a dog could have such a profound impact on his life, but Max had done just that. Every day, Noah woke up with a sense of purpose that he hadn't had before. He was responsible for this little creature, for his happiness and well-being, and it gave him a sense of fulfillment that went beyond anything he had ever experienced. It wasn't just about giving Max a better life. It was about how Max had changed his own. With Max by his side, Noah had learned patience, kindness, and the importance of perseverance. He had learned that love wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. One afternoon, as Noah and Max sat on their favorite bench in the park, a familiar face approached them. It was Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman who lived down the street. She had always smiled kindly at Noah and Max whenever they passed by, and she had become something of a neighborhood fixture. "Hello there, Noah," Mrs. Thompson said warmly, her cane tapping gently on the pavement. "And how's my favorite puppy today?" Max wagged his tail furiously at the sound of her voice, his excitement clear. Noah smiled, his heart swelling with affection for the little dog. "He's doing great, Mrs. Thompson," he said. "Better than ever, in fact." Mrs. Thompson's eyes softened as she looked at Max. "I've been meaning to tell you, Noah," she said, sitting down beside him on the bench. "I remember when you first brought Max home, and I thought to myself, that boy is going to need a lot of strength to care for that puppy. But look at you now. You two are a perfect match." Noah's face flushed slightly at the compliment. He had always tried to be the best possible owner for Max, but hearing Mrs. Thompson's kind words made him realize just how much he had grown. "Thanks, Mrs. Thompson," he said, his voice full of gratitude. "I guess I didn't realize how much Max would change my life. I've learned so much from him." Mrs. Thompson nodded, a knowing smile on her face. "That's the thing about dogs, dear," she said. "They're not just animals. They're teachers, companions, and friends. They remind us of what really matters in life: loyalty, love, and the joy in the simplest of moments." Noah sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on her words. It was true. Max had taught him things he hadn't even realized he needed to learn. And in return, Noah had given Max everything he could: a loving home, the best care, and a life filled with adventure. But there was still so much more they had ahead of them. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, Max stood up from his spot on the ground. His ears perked up as he sniffed the air. Noah smiled, knowing that it was time for their evening walk. "Ready for our walk, buddy?" Noah asked, standing up and grabbing the leash. Max barked excitedly, his tail wagging with enthusiasm. As they walked through the park, the familiar sounds of the world around them, children laughing, birds chirping, the rustling of the trees, seemed to melt away. It was just Noah and Max, two friends who had found each other when the world had seemed too big and too lonely. They walked side by side, each step a testament to the bond they had built and to the love that had blossomed between them. But as they approached the end of the park, Noah noticed something strange. A small group of people had gathered near the entrance, and there was a sense of urgency in the air. As they got closer, Noah saw that they were standing around a large, scruffy dog, one that seemed to be lost. The dog's fur was matted, his eyes wide and scared. He didn't belong to anyone, but he looked like he needed help. Without thinking, Noah knelt down to get a better look at the dog. He could see the fear in the dog's eyes, and he knew that this was no ordinary moment. "Hey, are you okay?" Noah asked gently, his voice soft. The dog flinched at first, but then slowly approached, his tail wagging uncertainly. Noah reached out, offering the back of his hand for the dog to sniff. "It's okay. We're not going to hurt you," Noah continued. Max stood quietly beside him, watching the interaction with curiosity. Slowly, the scruffy dog took a tentative step forward, sniffing Noah's hand before gently nuzzling it. Noah's heart swelled. He had seen this before, the same fear, the same uncertainty. This dog had been abandoned, just like Max had been, and in that moment, Noah knew what he had to do. "We can help," Noah said, looking over at the group of people. "I can take him in, give him a home." The group of people looked at Noah with surprise, but they didn't argue. It was clear that they hadn't known what to do with the dog either. But Noah had a way about him, a kindness, a sincerity that made people trust him. As Noah gently led the scruffy dog toward the park exit, Max trotted happily beside him, as if he understood what was happening. This was their purpose, to help those who had no one, to offer a second chance just as they had been given. When they arrived home, Noah gave the scruffy dog a bath and made him a cozy spot on the floor. Max watched from the couch, his eyes soft with understanding. Noah smiled at the two dogs, his best friends, and realized that life had a funny way of working out. Just as he had saved Max, Max had saved him in ways he couldn't even put into words. And now, together, they would offer that same love and comfort to another dog in need. As the two dogs lay down beside him that night, Noah reflected on everything they had been through. He had learned that sometimes life's greatest gifts came when you least expected them, and that love could heal even the deepest wounds. The future was uncertain, but Noah knew one thing for sure: Max, and now the scruffy dog too, would always be there by his side, and no matter what came next, he would never, ever let them go. They were family. Through every hardship, every challenge, and every joyous moment, they would face it all together. For Noah, that was the greatest gift of all.